good. That's always good. Okay, welcome to San Gorgonio Wilderness Association Ranger Talk. We do a little bit of promotion for while we're waiting. Smokey the Bear said he was going to be here, so while we're waiting for him to show up, I just want to tell you a little bit about our organization. We are all volunteers. We volunteer with SGWA. We have a lot of fun doing it and get to spend a lot of time outdoors in this beautiful forest. And I just want to remind everybody that one person can make a difference. One piece of trash that you pick up, one fire ring that you kick apart, one rock that you kick off the trail while you're hiking, everything helps a little bit. So just, we all try and do our part. We work in partner for this particular, we organize the Ranger Talks, but we work in partner with Vista Recreation, and they provide us hot water and electricity, and they keep the place nice and clean for us. So, and of course Forest Service, they're in charge of the property. This, the Wilderness Act was enacted in 1964, and it protects the wilderness. Now, we are not in the wilderness here. We are in the San Bernardino National Forest. The wilderness is up there, there are 9 peaks in the wilderness, and it is a very special part of the National Forest, or any national forest. It's a federally protected area that's kept in its natural, undisturbed, and wild condition. There's no roads, no people like live up there. You can backpack in and stay overnight, but sooner or later you got to come back up. There's no roads, no buildings, no vehicles, just nature. And just keep in mind that before the wilderness, in the last century, beginning of the last century, people wanted to put ski runs up on all those hills up there. So we would be sitting there looking at ski runs and a lot more traffic, a lot more people here for the weekend, so just keep that in mind. But they didn't manage to do that thanks to some very persistent people. The former President Obama used the 1906 Antiquities Act to proclaim the Sand to Snow National Monument. So not only are we in a national forest, which contains a wilderness area, but we are also in a larger national monument. And this happened in 2016. It is called Sand to Snow because it starts down near Joshua Tree, where it's sandy, we call it sand, and then comes all the way up. It includes the peak up here, Old Grayback. It preserves a lot of historical and scientific assets within that whole area. All this green area here would be the national monument. It is not all connected, obviously, but it's all the green area. And here's some of our trails. If you're camping up here at a campground this weekend, you are going to be over along in here. Here's approximately where the amphitheater is, where we're at right now. As you can see, we've got a couple of migratory corridors here where the wild animals need to go back and forth to their summer and winter grounds. So there are other national monuments in the state of California and in the country, so it's not the only one, but it is of a significant value to us because it helps preserve what we have here. The old-time miners, now, Old Grayback, if you look through the trees a little bit, you can see Old Grayback from here. It is above tree line, so there aren't any trees, no vegetation up there, it's just all rocks. And so from Big Bear, old-time miners, when they would look up, you could see it from there. Usually from the campgrounds, you can't see it, just because of the way the ridges are set up. It's just impossible. But from Big Bear, you can see it, and it looks like the back of a big old grizzly bear or a big old elephant or something. It just looks like the gray back of something. So that's where it got its name. This is, if you drive out east on the 10, and you get to Joshua Tree and out past Palm Springs, you can see, get a good look at the peak. So if you haven't been up on the peak, you can take a look at it that way. That's actually the only way I actually get to see it from around here. San Bernardino National Forest is the #1 visited wilderness and area in Southern California. It also has the highest peak in Southern California, which is San Gorgonio Peak at 11,502 feet. This area attracts over 2 million visitors annually, winter and summer. And as you're well aware, if you're camping here for the weekend, lots of things to do, lots of ways to keep busy: camping, hiking, backpacking, stargazing, bird watching, horseback riding, mountain biking, but mountain biking not in the wilderness. And stargazing. Now, stargazing is really good this time of year out here, so if you're up in the middle of the night, for some strange, just peek your head out, look up at the stars. It's amazing. It's amazing. I had to go out a couple weeks ago as my dog had to go out in the middle of the night. We don't generally go out in the middle of the night, and I was amazed. I haven't been looking for that, so we're going to skip that for now. We're going to say these are the 4 fires. Now, they're not all the fires that we've had in the area, obviously. But these, starting in 2015, these had major impact on this area. So from 15 to 2020, and I'm sure that if you've been driving up and looking up at the mountains, you've seen part of the burned area. It's important to remember, especially nowadays, that burned forest is not ruined forest. If you look carefully, if you look past the dead trees that got burned up, you will see the greenery and the flowers and everything coming back, and it will be back. So it is still growing. But if we could give a silent thank you to all the firefighters and fire support personnel who keep our mountains and all of the mountains and our wonderful state of California safe. We'll take about 20 seconds to do that, please. Okay, and then let's give them a big round of applause because I think that they're amazing. Do we have any firefighters no firefighters today? Okay, sometimes we do. Oh, we do. You're a cadet, fire cadet. Here we go, from Angeles Oaks, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you for your service. Okay, so SGWA, my organization, partners with the Forest Service to complete some services that the Forest Service doesn't have time or the manpower to do. One of the things we do is we give people information about the area. So, look who's here. Look who's here. All right. Look who's here. It is Smokey Bear. Are we ready for Smokey Bear? Hi, Smokey. How are you? It's so good to see you again. Thank you for coming. Okay, so before it gets too much darker, let's do some photo ops with Smokey Bear. Excuse me, so who's going to be first? Grown-ups, you can do it also. We have volunteers. If you want us to take a group picture, we can take pictures for you.
Somebody growling, watch them kids join.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You two? Together? No. I'm scared. Oh, yeah. You guys
Smokey's losing weight.
Yeah.
That's good though, right?
Thank you very much. Thanks, Smokey.
We always called him Smokey the Bear, but it's just Smokey Bear. I didn't learn it till just a few years ago. There's no the part. I called him that for 40 years, 50 years.
Thank you.
Is he gonna get his picture?
How are you? I'm good. Do you want a picture? Go in there.
no.
I'll take one of you.
They look at me and say, which one's the big bear?
Yeah.
See, I brought someone else with you today.
Thank you, Smokey. Alright, you look cool in that, man. Awesome.
Yes, please.
I like that.
Thank you.
Okay, did everybody get their smoky fix? Anybody else?
You need a sticker.
Okay, a Smokey sticker. I got a Hootie Owl one, but I don't have a Smokey one.
Now you got one.
Thank you.
Have a Smokey sticker. Thank you. You're welcome.
All righty, Smokey, are we ready for the Smokey pledge? All right, right hand, right paw, right? Okay. Okay, everybody would stand up because you are going to be sitting for a little bit. So, right paw.
But you have to have a sticker. Yes.
Okay, repeat after me. I promise to prevent wildfires. Be careful with fire. Never play with matches or lighters. Always watch my campfire. Make sure my campfire is out, out, out. Before leaving it. Okay, you are all Smokey's helpers now. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Smokey. Always a pleasure to see you.
Yeah.
He's
What a cutie.
got some dance steps going.
Yeah, really.
Smokey been getting the rotten fruit. He's getting a little.
Okay, so the other thing we do besides tell people where to go in a positive way, as far as where Jinx Lake Trail is, where South Fork Trail is, where's the nearest gas station, that kind of thing, is we do have what we call our trail maintenance crews that go out and they clear, rebuild, and maintain trails. They start with wilderness trails, and then once they get done with those trails up there, then they will come down and do work. They have already worked on the Jinx Lake Trail this year. Last year they cleared more than 830 trees off the trails, because when trees fall on the trails, it's dangerous. You can't usually get over them. You can't go under them. You got to go around them, and it's usually in a place where it's steep and it's just not safe. A lot of them will roll. So they spend a lot of time with their crosscut saws clearing those big, huge trees off of the trail. We do have several volunteers who are certified to use the crosscut saws. You can't We have a whole bunch of rules and regulations from the Forest Service, so we have to abide by those rules and regulations. They cleared 34,300 feet of trails were cleared and or repaired. Yes, we do measure them by the foot, which is approximately 6.5 miles. We also have day and overnight patrols into the wilderness. They work in pairs, and they carry a radio, which we have a radio at the visitor center as well in case we need to get a hold of dispatch quickly. And they're always ready to help hikers. As a matter of fact, on the radio today, I heard them relay that there was a person had fallen on a rock down in Mill Creek, over near the creek, and was bleeding, and needed help. So they had called dispatch, and I heard that call go out. So even if we're not using our radio, we keep it just to monitor what's going on in the forest, because it's always good to get a heads up if a road has been blocked or something like that, so we can tell people. Fire rings removed. Our patrols removed over 100 fire rings. Usually, a lot of times we don't report that. We just kind of kick them out of the way and kick them apart and keep going. Bags of trash, that is probably a low number, over 170 bags. I would say probably double that. But those are some of the things we do. We remove graffiti, we pick up litter and trash when we're hiking and when we're just walking around. It gets to the point where friends of mine, if we're out for a walk or something, they're like, Jean, you're not going to pick up any more trash, are you? Well, because it's embarrassing. And I'm like, sorry. I have to, it becomes kind of a compunction, I guess, or something. I don't know. We always share nature with the public. Right now, this is what we're doing right now. Our ranger talks do that. We have 15 ranger talks every summer Saturday from Memorial Day to Labor Day, except for when we have the Forest Festival on August 19th. We will not have a ranger talk that night because we'll all be busy down at the visitor center. We have a lot of pop-up nature talks, like on the trail. When our volunteers patrols help you, that's a pop-up talk. That's information that you may not have otherwise. At the visitor center, we do all kinds of things. I had a whole bunch of people over there smelling the Jeffrey pine tree today. We do other things. We have a whole bunch of displays and things like that, and tell people about a lot of the different animals and who's around and who's not in the forest. And the Big Falls area is another place where we give out a lot of information. Most of it has to do with not climbing up past the signs on the waterfalls. And not to go into the creek at this time because it is way too fast. There we go. We do run solely on donations. The Forest Service does not pay us. So we are a nonprofit organization, and we depend on donations to buy our supplies and help with the expenses in our different visitor centers and our trail crews and things of that nature. Our mission is to serve, protect, and educate. And we do accept donations of any kind. The donation jar is right over there. We thank you in advance for anything that you feel would be appropriate. If you want further information, we just updated our website, and it is SGWA.org. It is newly updated, and it is also a place, if you are hiking in the wilderness, you will need a permit, and you can get the permits online. So that saves a lot of going in and getting a paper permit and then carrying it with you and that kind of thing. And we developed all that, so we do all of that as well. So anyway, we're just kind of around, so if you have any questions, let me know. I am going to just remember that one person can make a difference. Oh, hang on a minute, I have a question. I never have questions. I'm sorry. What are fire rings? Fire rings, are you at the campground? Okay, so you know that round fire pit that you have in the campground? Okay, so that's an approved fire ring. Okay, so when we're out in the forest and you see a bunch of little burned logs all together in kind of a circle, that's what we call a fire ring. It's a campfire, but it's not loud. So when we find them, we kick them like that. Make sure that they're all out and that they're all separate so that people don't think it's a good idea to make a fire there. Does that make sense? Okay. That's a good question. Good question. Okay. And see, one person, see, everybody learned something, you know? See, that's what happens. Pop-up talks. We can work together and make good things happen. I am going to introduce Ranger Heather, our owl lady, and let me switch over.
Thank you so much, Jean. That was a great introduction. Hopefully someone learned a little bit more about the organization and the chorus that is right behind me, right in front of you. And I am a fairly new volunteer to this organization, but I am not new to these mountains and this wilderness. I've been hiking these trails for about 15 years. I've been on all the peaks, and today I went on a 12-mile hike before I came here as a patrol, looking for people who have their permits and educating people that do not have permits. So it's a new thing for me, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. I was invited to do a talk tonight on owls, and I'm so glad everyone is here. This is a bigger crowd than last week. Wonderful. All right, the title of tonight's speech is Owls, Wise or Otherwise? And we'll find out an answer to that question. So California has such diverse habitats, places that animals live, places that we live, and we're lucky to have many types of owls in these habitats. And these are some of the owls that we have here in California. We have the great horned owl, the flammulated owl. If I mispronounce a word, I'm sorry, some of these are pretty scientific. We have the western screech, the northern saw-whet, the great gray, the short-eared, the northern pygmy, the burrowing, the spotted, the barn, the long-eared, and the barrowed. And there's a lot more owls outside of California as well. In fact, there are over 250 different species of owls worldwide. So if you travel to the East Coast, you're going to have a whole different set of owls to find and look at. Owls live everywhere in the world except Antarctica. Their habitat includes deserts, prairies, and even the Arctic tundra. So here's a picture of the world, and right down there at the bottom is Antarctica. That's where owls are not. If you were wondering where Antarctica was. All right, most owl species are nocturnal. Can everyone say nocturnal? All right, turn to your neighbor and say nocturnal. Good. Meaning they hunt at night and they sleep during the day. I work nights, so am I nocturnal? Sometimes I feel like I'm nocturnal. In fact, only two owl species, the northern hawk owl and the northern pygmy owl, are diurnal. Everyone say diurnal. Turn to your neighbor and say diurnal. Very good. That means they're up and active during the daytime. So when you wake up, you have breakfast, you go to school, you watch TV, you're diurnal. You're up when the sun is up. But there's another category, and this might be a Jeopardy winning question right here if you're ever asked when you go on Jeopardy. Animals that are active at dusk and dawn are called, does anyone know? And the answer is, what is crepuscular? Everyone say crepuscular. Turn to your other neighbor and say crepuscular. Very good. I'm going to test you at the end of this lesson tonight. All right. Males versus females. If an owl flew over us right now, would I be able to tell if it was a boy or a girl? No, probably not. But if two landed side by side and I knew a little bit more about owls, I could probably pick out some differences. So at first glance, it's very difficult to tell the difference between a male and a female. But if you get the chance to examine an owl, or maybe you're next to someone that knows, look for these details. And we're going to start with a barn owl. I'm not going to go through every owl, all 250 species. We're just going to do a few of them. The males have fainter color feathers, and the females have darker stripes, darker spots, darker colors, more vibrant. Okay, they're a paler color owl, but these are the two differences in their feather colors. So this is a male, and just looking at this, I might not know. I have to compare it to a female. Okay, and females, if you look under their wings, there's dark spots. Now, I'm not sure if you can tell on the screen at this light of in the evening, if you can see the little black dots underneath the wing and on the body. Well, that indicates that it's a female. All right, here's two snowy owls. Two snow owls. The left is the female. Notice her darker colors on her feathers. and she has more black markings. And the right is the male who is smaller, so there's a size difference, and has less black markings. So that's a male and a female. All right. Which one's the male? Which one's the female? This is a tough one. All right, now in this case, it's not going to be feather colors per se. It's going to be size. Is a noticeable difference between the male and the female screech owls. They look a little different than the other owls that we saw, but these are screech owls, and it's not the coloring, it's the size. And to me, they look identical. To me, they look like the same size. The females are just a little bit bigger. 9.2 inches tall on average, and they weigh 7.3 ounces. Well, that's not very heavy. The male grows to 8.2 inches tall and weighs approximately 7 ounces. So it's just a noticeable difference, just a very, very small difference between the two. Females also have larger wingspan of 22 inches, and the male's wingspan is only 21 inches. All right, I love it when people say, what's a group of cats called? Well, a clouder, right? What's a group of geese? A gaggle. I love animal group names. So I picked some bird groups, and I researched what you would call them if they were in a group. All right, a group of crows is called?
Murder.
Everyone knows that one. That's a cool one. All right, a group of flamingos is called? Very good, a flamboyant. A group of parrots is called?
Loud.
Noisy, no, a flock. That one's not as exciting. I think we should come up with a different name for a group of parrots, especially the ones that land outside my window. A group of ravens is called an unkindness. I know, that's a cool one. That's a really neat one. And a group of sparrows is called a host. I can see it. But a group of owls is called a
Group.
group. A group of owls is called a parliament.
That's right.
A parliament of owls, and that was the best picture I could find for that.
Wow, that's cool.
All right, so owls are solitary, so you won't see a parliament of owls very often, okay, unless they're nesting. And owls can make nests in holes called cavities in hollows of trees. So if you look around the trees around us now, or maybe in your campground tomorrow, and you see some holes at the top, maybe a hollow at the top, a bigger hole, that might be an owl's home, okay? So the holes are called cavities or hollows in trees, and these tree cavities occur naturally. Sometimes they occur naturally, but often they're created by woodpeckers. Woodpeckers love to drill holes in the sides of trees. Alpha owls, the one in the picture, nest in the saguaro cacti, where woodpeckers have created a ready-made hole. So they like to live in cacti. Here's a better picture. I think that's the cutest face I've ever seen. The cactus, and I can't pronounce that word, pygmy owl, peeks out at of the saguaro cactus. The birds raise their chicks in these cactus cavities. Ready-made home. Here's another picture of that. I think that's pretty neat. They're not afraid of those pokies at all. All right, there's another nest. A great horned owl is nesting. Notice how different those big sticks are in the top of the tree. Not a cactus, but he looks pretty cozy. Some owls, like this snowy owl, they lay their eggs on the ground. I'd be pretty nervous if I was her. Something that could just come and step on it. And this owl decided to make a nest out of a laundry basket. I read a story on this picture. This was a rescued owl. It had fallen out of its nest, and I guess it got injured. And they're trying to rehabilitate it and give it a proper nest in a tree. And they did their best, and they made a nest out of a laundry basket and then put it in the tree. So if you notice inside the basket, you see some twigs and sticks and things like that. But pretty creative. And some burrow in the ground. So birds that nest in burrows then modify the tunnels of ground squirrels and other burrowing animals. So a lot of times animals will steal the home or the hole of another animal that made it. Owls are no different. All right, the eyesight. Now, oh, I learned so much about this. I'm no biologist. I got my bachelor's in English, okay? I'm no biologist, but I'm curious. And I love to go to wild animal parks and zoos and rehabilitation centers and hear people speaking about the owls that they have in captivity, or owls that they've rehabilitated, or owls that they keep because they can't be released out in nature. And I have a ton of books, and I have YouTube, and I study and I research things that I just am interested in. And owls are one, and I was so torn on what to include in this presentation, because I could go on for another 2 hours on this, because there's so many cool facts about owl eyesight. Okay, let's hear a little bit about it. It's estimated that their night vision is anywhere from 35 to 100 times better than ours. Now, I have 20/20 vision. I went to the eye doctor once, and she examined my eyes, and she said, "You have 20/20 vision." I'm like, "You're kidding me. All my family members wear glasses, but I have 20/20 vision." So not only that, but owls can see better than I can. So not only that, owls can see great in the daytime too. So we learn that they're nocturnal, but they can also see great during the day. Each pupil can dilate independently of the other, and each has great control of how much light is let in, making them able to see in every light level. So yes, they can hunt in the pitch black forest at night with no moon in the sky, and they can hunt right now, or they can hunt when the sun is up. So any daylight level or any light level. All right, it can see so well in the dark that it can probably sense a mouse anywhere on a football ground in the light of a single candle. So there's the mouse, there's the candle, and it could sense where it's walking on the stadium ground, or in the stadium seating, or on the football ground. Pretty amazing. All right, so we're gonna try to do an experiment. All right, so I want you to just keep your head straight, and I want you to move your eyes up and down, all around. Can you see the person next to you? This way. Can you look down? Maybe see the end of your nose? Can you look up? I only see the brim of my hat, but can you look up and see the sky? Yeah, so our eyes can move around their sockets, but owl eyes are so big they can't move around like ours. So what they have to do is turn their head to look and see something around them, up and down, and even. Can they spin their head around? Can owls spin their head all the way around?
Yes.
Oh, if they did, their head would come off. They cannot spin their head all the way around, but it kind of looks like he's doing that, right? All right. So I want you to practice something before we move on to the next slide. Take your chin and put it on one shoulder like this. And I want you to slowly bring around the front of your body to your next shoulder, but I don't want you to stop at that shoulder. I want you to keep going. Keep going. I can't keep going either. It stops right here and right there. And I was in a car accident many times when I was growing up, so I don't even think my range is that great. But an owl can turn their head 270 degrees. An owl can go past one shoulder, across another, and into their looking behind them in their middle of their back. We have 7 bones in our neck that helps us move like this. An owl has 14. They have twice as many bones in their neck that helps them move their head twice as far as we can. So they can't move their eye sockets around to kind of look up and down and maybe look at something. They have to turn every part of their head to look around and see something coming towards them, or something walking beneath them, or flying above them. Okay, this is just a quick demonstration of how our necks have 7 vertebrae, neck bones, and then the owl has 14, twice as many, so they can go twice as far as we can. All right, so what did you say? What did you say? I can barely hear you guys whispering. On your own heads, I want you to point where an owl keeps its ears. Take a wild guess. Point on your own head. Where does an owl keep its ears? Oh, I see so many great answers, but they're all wrong. No, just kidding. Just kidding. All right, an owl has a high ear on one side and a low ear on the other. Okay, and they do that so they can have surround sound hearing. Owls have great sense of hearing. Okay, here is an owl's skull, and you can see where the ears are kept: a high ear and a low ear. Owls do so much of their hunting with the aid of their incredible hearing. Is their eyesight great? Absolutely. Is their hearing great? It's even better than their eyesight, okay? Their hearing is best of any animal that has ever been tested.
That's amazing.
Owls do have a good sense of I'm sorry. Owls do not have a good sense of smell, but they do have acute hearing, which can help them hear sounds up to 10 miles away. So you and I are right here at the Grayback Amphitheater, and I thought, how can I demonstrate 10 miles? I have another experiment we're going to do later, but how can I show people what 10 miles looks like? Well, I mapped it out. We are here at the Grayback Amphitheater on the far right, and the Oaks restaurant you passed up here to get to your campsite is about 9 miles away from here. So another mile after that is how far an owl can hear. So that's 10 miles. That's pretty impressive. I have terrible hearing, 20/20 vision, but terrible hearing. So that's really impressive. All right. Owls are stealthy. What does the word stealth mean? Does anyone know? Stealth? The stealth bomber? Yeah, it means quiet. So owls are very stealthy. Owls are equipped with highly developed stealth technology. Believe it or not, their feathers are stealth technology that helps them swoop on prey undetected, studies have shown. All right, now I walked around earlier before some of you got here afterwards, and I apologize for that. You can come up here at the end and take a look, but I have an owl wing right here. And owl wings show how frayed or separated the end of their feathers are to help them be silent flyers. Owls are equipped, there we go. The feathers of wings, body, and tails of owls are wider and rounder than those of other birds. And to further reduce sound, they are cloaked in soft velvety coverings of tiny feathers that also soften their passage through air. The result is almost total silent flying. So sometimes when I go on a picnic or go to the beach and the birds fly over me, I can hear the whoosh, whoosh of the wings. I can hear the air going through their wings. But owls, you can't hear. But more than that, neither can the little things that they're going after. Okay. Speaking of which, talons, I also showed you some great horned owl talons and another bird of prey talons, but all talons are made out of is the protein keratin, the same thing your fingernails are made out of. Okay, the crushing power of a great horned owl's talons is to the range of 200 to an incredible 500 pounds per square inch, 10 times on average stronger than the grip of a typical human hand. So once the talons sink into the prey's back, most prey are killed instantly just by the grab of their talon. They don't even know it hit them because they can't even hear the owl coming after them. All right, barn owls have remarkably long legs, toes, and talons. This helps them catch prey at the base of deep vegetation so they can hunt on a forest floor if a mouse is walking underneath maybe a layer of pine needles. Okay, they can still grab that mouse or whatever they're going after. The talons are extremely sharp, and prey is thought to be killed by foot clenching rather than a peck. All right, so speaking of that, sometimes you'll find an animal skull or see an animal skull, and you really don't know what kind of animal it is, but you can tell what that animal eats by looking at its teeth. If it has sharp fangs like a mountain lion, it's probably going to be a carnivore. It's going to eat meat. If it has flat teeth like a deer, it's probably going to be a herbivore or a vegetarian. Okay. And if it has a mixture of sharp and flat teeth, maybe like a bear, they're an omnivore. They eat a little bit of everything. But birds don't have teeth. Birds have beaks. So if you look at a bird beak, it's going to tell you what it eats. Okay? So ducks at the top, they have a bill for filtering because they live in the water. They like to swim in the water and eat the things in the water. So the one after that is probing. Sometimes beaks are made for probing, looking for insects, catching insects. So that the third one down has a little short beak, good for catching insects. And then the one after that, there's a beak that's shaped for cracking seeds. Oh, the last one for drilling holes like a woodpecker, but that second to last one, that tearing meat bill, that hooked beak tells me that that animal or that bird is going to eat meat, only as a carnivore. So here's some examples of hooked beaks. So if I didn't know and I found maybe a beak on the ground, maybe there's an accident, I'm like, what kind of a bird was it? I don't know. Let's look at the beak and find out. Okay, this is a hooked beak. This looks like a hawk to me. All right, another hawk. Look at that beautiful hooked beak. It's meant for tearing apart flesh. They don't chew, obviously, because they don't have teeth. So they tear a piece and they swallow it whole. Oh, and this is one of my favorite birds of prey. Our national bird, our bald eagle, very beautiful. It's a bird of prey. It's going to eat meat also. All right, this might be a little, I think it's a kestrel, which is also a bird of prey. They eat smaller things, but yes, they're still carnivores. They just eat smaller things. But they're not going to go after maybe a berry or an apple on the ground. No, they're going to catch something alive. Oh, and there's our great horned owl. There's our owl. Has a hooked beak. Definitely a carnivore. All right, so what are they hunting? What exactly are they going after? Well, it's on the menu for an owl, any kind of owl. What's on the menu? Owls are opportunistic, meaning they don't only eat one thing. They'll eat anything they can get, really, that's crawling on the forest floor or maybe flying above them, but they're only eating meat. They are carnivores. All right, there's an example of a snowy owl going after a mouse. I don't think that mouse has a chance. Probably doesn't even know he's there. All right, they'll even eat snakes. Owls are known to eat snakes as well. Maybe it's not their favorite thing, but like I said, they're opportunistic. If it's there and they're hungry, they're going to eat it. Oh, they'll eat frogs. Like I said. All right, now, I mentioned earlier that owls don't have a sense of smell. So what did this one catch? What's black and white? Yeah, skunk. Skunks aren't known for their floral odors, okay? They're known for their pretty bad odors. It's a defense mechanism. We'll give them that. If they're nervous, they're going to spray somebody or something so they can get away. But owls cannot smell it, but they can sure taste it, and they think skunks are tasty. All right, and sometimes if you have maybe a farm, you might want to cover your chickens because they will go after your chicks. They're opportunistic. If it's there, they're going to eat it. All right, so in goes the mouse, in goes the snake, in goes the whatever it ate. It's going to digest and get nice and full, but it can't eat again until it coughs up something. And before we started this, I passed around a little tray that had an owl pellet on it. Had a whole owl pellet, a broken open owl pellet that had bones in it. And it's not a hairball, even though it kind of looks like a hairball. I have cats and it looks like a hairball. It's not a hairball, it's not poop, it's not vomit, it's a pellet. All right, so what it does is it eats its prey whole and it swallows it. And there's a special part in their body called a crop. And that crop collects everything that owl swallowed. And it squeezes it and it condenses it and it gets all the nutrients into its stomach so it gets energy. But then what happens to all the things that's squeezed in that crop, like the bones and the feathers and things that it can't digest? All the nutrients is gone, and what's left over is, well, a pellet, and it can't eat again until it coughs it up. All right, so let's go back to that pellet. So a lot of times, if you're walking on the forest floor or walking in the forest and you look on the floor and there's something that kind of looks like a hairball, a lot of times that's a pellet. That means an owl lives above. An owl lives in that tree. I have a friend that has a big field. She lives in Yucaipa and she wanted a dog agility training business. And she said, Heather, I have so many gophers and snakes and things I don't want in my yard. I said, put up a few owl boxes and they'll take care of those problems for you. Lo and behold, she did. She put about 3 or 4 owl boxes around her property. Owls moved in and she collected all the owl pellets of all the gophers she did not want in her yard. And I gladly took them. All right, owls, wise or otherwise? Now that's the title of our talk tonight. So what birds are the smartest? There's quite a few birds that are very intelligent. And by far, after looking at the research, I took a consensus, and crows are very smart in the corvid family. And crows are very interesting. In fact, we should probably do a talk next summer on crows and the members of the corvid family because they are fascinating. They understand water displacement, math, facial recognition, and they even hold grudges. They're very intelligent. And also African gray parrots are very intelligent. They can solve puzzles. They can repeat what they hear. They might not understand what they hear. Well, maybe they do. But they're very intelligent also. But what I saw in my research was owls are not on the list of the most intelligent birds. So why do we call them the wise old owl, or wise as an owl? Well, in Greek mythology, the goddess Athene was thought to symbolize wisdom and strategy. Strategy, something that owls have, okay? And often depicted with an owl nearby. They probably That probably was inspired by the owl's big eyes and solemn appearance. The Greeks also thought owls had some sort of inner light that let them see at night. I can see why they would think that because owls have such big eyes that glow at night. I can see that. Not a bad consensus there. All right, so that might be why we call owls wise. Are they problem solvers? No, but they definitely love on their instincts, and their instincts are incredible. All right, so are you guys ready to do an experiment? I'm going to get you guys up out of these bleachers, and we're going to go out to the forest, and we're going to do an experiment. But I would like 2 volunteers, and I see my volunteers right here with the hats on and their pajamas. They look nice and cozy. Okay, come on down here. We're not going to stay in the front, I promise. We're actually, all of us are going to go to the back because the light is going away, and I want this activity to be done in as dark as possible. So what is your name? Emmy, and what is your name? Mia and Emmy. I could tell you're sisters. All right, so you girls are going to take turns, and I want you to squeak this little squeaky toy. Can you squeak that? It's right here. There you go. Give it to your sister. Squeak it. Did you all hear that? Mm-hmm. All right, let's see how much further away you can hear that. Let's test and see if you guys have owl hearing. So everyone stand up and come on back over here with me. We're not going to go far, I promise. I don't want anyone to trip and fall. Come on over. And stand right there on the edge. Did everyone line up over here? All right, my volunteers, come on over. All right, volunteers, my girls, come on up here. I don't need it anyway, because you guys are right here. All right, volunteers, come on over. All right. So you all heard the squeak toy, right? That represents the sound of a mouse. Fun fact. I bought it at Walmart. But it's a squeak nonetheless. All right, does everyone see these yellow cones or these orange cones off into the forest? Okay, good. So it's about 50 feet away is the last one. I paced it out myself. All right, so I want my girls, my volunteer girls, to go first to this cone. All right, and I want everyone watching to close their eyes or put your hand in front of your eyes. And we're just going to go based on here. And I want my volunteers to squeak the squeaker. Raise your hand if you heard. All right, so keep your eyes closed, and I want my girls to go next. Keep your eyes closed, raise your hand when you hear the squeak. Next,
Chili.
All right, the microphone didn't work at the back of the amphitheater, but that's good to know because I didn't know that. All right. You guys did great at my little experiment. Thank you so much for participating in that. It's getting colder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So owls have different levels of feathers. So when it goes out at night and it's raining, and it has to find food when it's raining, of course, it can't put on a poncho and it can't wear an umbrella over its head. What it has are waterproof feathers and layers of feathers that help keep their skin nice and dry. So animals have outer layers. So some animals have fur coats, some animals have scales, some animals have feathers. And owls are definitely pretty good at flying in the rain also because they are waterproof underneath. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our Owl Talk. I could talk for another 2 hours on owl facts, but this is a shortened version. So if you're really interested in owls, find a book at the library, go on YouTube, go on the internet, and do some research. And maybe next time we meet, you can tell me something new that you learned. So hopefully everyone here learned a little something new tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Teacher. Okay, go.
Take care.